you let us know, we've got the money for you. We have the experts, we have the money, let us help.
Tom Hofeller is kind of a superstar in gerrymandering.
It's my job to advise Republican stakeholders in the redistricting question on how they can maneuver through these thickets.
He goes around and works for Republican legislators in multiple states and will draw their maps.
There's something almost like an old country doctor about Hofeller, that he'd pack his old kit bag, you know, with his laptop, kiss his wife in Alexandria, Virginia, goodbye, and pet his dog, and then set off into a country that was about to be redrawn by him.
Redistricting used to be done by legislators or their legislative staff, so it was always a partisan project. But at least people lived in the state, and they knew the people, and they knew the politics. These people out of Washington, all they know is where the airport is when they come down and deliver their plans. And they also know how to use sophisticated software to maximize political results.
Hofeller's got a piece of software, and he downloads a bunch of political data into that, and he spits out the most partisan map that he thinks the courts will allow.
Gerrymandering from 1788 through 2000 is in its minor leagues. In 2010, gerrymandering jumps straight into its steroids era. Big data and big technology emerge in such a way that you can carve more precise gerrymanders than ever.
They used census data, educational levels, income levels.
Voters' partisan history, their race and their gender and their age, those factors tell you so much about a voter that you can predict how they're going to vote in a few years with a strong degree of confidence.
They could go down a street and these people are Republicans, we're going to put them in this district. These people are Democrats, we're going to put them over here. There was no transparency at all because they were using private computers. They were being drawn off-site by hired Republican consultants.
Picture a black box. Whatever happens inside that black box, you can't see. They just come out and they say, here's the map.
It was a flawlessly functioning map. Every single district hit what you might call the sweet spot, safe enough for Republicans to consistently win it, but it didn't waste excess votes that they could have spread around to other districts. On the other hand, the few Democratic districts they drew were designed to quarantine as many Democratic voters as possible.
So here's what they do. They get data on where all the African Americans live, and then they just draw lines around it. So the really crazy looking maps, the really squiggly looking ones, the reason they're squiggly is because they're picking up all the African American communities all throughout the state.
Take a look at North Carolina's congressional map. Look at District 12. It's so weirdly shaped, they can't even fit the 12 in it. Looks like a Rorschach test. What do you see in this shape? I don't know, it's either a dragon or 300 years of institutional racism.
Republicans have cynically put more and more minorities into what's called a majority-minority district. So the district goes from 50% minority to 60% minority to 70% minority. And the reason they're doing this is so that minorities will have less impact in all of the other districts. And that was exactly the strategy that Tom Hofeller used in North Carolina, funneling as many black voters as possible into the 1st and 12th congressional districts while bleaching the surrounding areas.
The truth is, the Republicans targeted African Americans, but the motivation wasn't, we want to hurt African Americans, it was, we want to hurt Democrats.
One of Hofeller's crowning achievements is what he did in the western part of North Carolina. In particular, the district that was occupied at the time by a moderate Democrat, Heath Shuler.
Heath Shuler was a former University of Tennessee quarterback
I know you're mad at
He was
Congress.
kind of a
and so
moderate
am I.
to conservative Democrat.
You didn't send me up there to blindly follow any one party. You sent me up there to do what's right for our mountain families.
He loved guns, he was anti-abortion. He was the very picture of a good old boy. And so you can't really run against this guy like he's the San Francisco Democrat. So they had to change the guy's district. The most Democratic area of the district was Asheville, which is this little Haight-Ashbury in the middle of the mountains.
Hoffler just essentially carved Asheville out of that map and moved it to another area, an area that was so Republican that it could absorb Asheville. Suddenly, that part of Buncombe County, where Asheville was a part, was suddenly quite a conservative district. Heath Schuler, recognizing the writing on the wall, retires from politics altogether. It suddenly now is there for the taking by Republicans, and the guy who wins it is a guy named Mark Meadows.
2012 is the time that we're going to send Mr. Obama home to Kenya or wherever it is. We're going to do it.
Meadows is now the chairman of the Freedom Caucus, which is the hardline group in the House of Representatives that opposes